what's up everybody? It's Mike. So I wanted to talk today about encouragement because I think encouragement is a big gift. Like, it's awesome when we're encouraged, right? I mean, when we're feeling frustrated, run down, tired, confused, aggravated, annoyed, like any of those negative type emotions, when we get encouragement, it's like water to our soul. Like, we feel lifted up and we're able to move forward and do things and continue on the path and move along, right? And that's awesome. And encouragement can come in all sorts of ways, right? It could be a note from a friend. Who sends notes? I guess a text from a friend, right? An email from a coworker, a smile from a baby, an encouraging word. Like, it could be all sorts of things, right? And those are cool and it's awesome, and we should encourage one another. And the Bible tells us to encourage one another, and so that's really good, and we should be doing that. But there's another type of encouragement that is so much better than that. That's encouragement from the Lord God of heaven and earth. And there's a difference when we receive encouragement from a friend or another person and when we receive encouragement from God. Right? Because encouragement from a friend and another person or a stranger, whatever, that can help us feel good, that can lift us up, that gives us a little boost and a little motivation. But it's like a cup of coffee in the afternoon. Eventually it wears off and you're tired again. But encouragement from God, that gets like down deep in our souls. That like sticks to the bits of us that nothing else can seem to touch, right? Because God is spirit and he speaks to our spirit and encourages us deep down in a powerful and amazing way. And so Isaiah 42, pretty much the whole chapter, but specifically verses 10 through 16, I think are incredibly encouraging. I think it's incredibly encouraging because it talks about what God's going to do. Now, understandably, in a real sense, there was something that did occur shortly after Isaiah's time where some of this came to fulfillment, but in a much bigger way, it's what's still to come. It's still about what God's going to do, right? And that's awesome. But even more so, I think it's super encouraging because it tells us a little bit more about who God is, right? And anytime we can understand a little bit more about who God is, the better off we are. Because when we know in our head and in our hearts who God is, that deepens our relationship with him. And the deeper our relationship with him gets, the more we trust him. And the more we trust him, the more we seek him. And the more we seek him, the more we follow him. And the more we follow him, we find solace and rest and just wholeness in him. So I think it's awesome and super encouraging anytime we can get to know God just a little bit better. So, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I highly recommend you go read Isaiah chapter 42. Bare minimum, read like 1 to 16 or 10 to 16 if you've got like 2 minutes. But sit down, read that, kind of soak in some of that. But kind of like the highlights of what's going on here is God saying that he's going to move. God says that he's the one who's been withholding himself from acting. Right? He's the one who's decided not to move for a while, but he's moving. One of my favorite scenes in any movie ever is from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when Beaver tells the kids Aslan is on the move. And the kids are like, and? They don't understand that that's a big deal, right? But Beaver gets it, right? So when we read that God is on the move and God is doing something and God is about to make something happen, as Christians, as followers of Christ, that's a big deal. Like we get all sorts of stoked and we like tell people, like, we're super excited. We get up real close and we're like, hey, God's on the move. Now to them that might not mean much, but to us, we know that that's something. So in these chapters, or in this chapter, what God's talking about is he says he's no longer going to restrain himself. He is no longer going to hold himself back. He's going to go into the coastlands and into the desert and into the wilderness and into the villages, and people are going to shout for praise, and he's going to move and he's going to restore and he's going to make all these things happen, and it's going to be glorious. But not only that, he's going to go and he's going to lead the blind, and they're going to be able to see light and dark. He's going to light up their darkness, and he's going to go and he's going to lead them by the hand, and the high places are going to become low, and he's going to do all of these things. And the people are supposed to read this and go, God's on the move. And I just want to encourage you that in your life, whether you realize it or not right now, God's on the move. Like, that's awesome. That's so encouraging. That's amazing. Now, we don't see it all the time. And I'm not going to be one of those people who says, just trust this and do that, and Jesus will buy you a Lamborghini and everything's going to be awesome. Because I don't know what he's going to do. But I know this, that even though he tarries, it will come. I know that even though right now it looks dark, light is on the way. I know that even right now, if you mourn, rejoicing comes. I know this because the Bible tells me this, and because I've seen it in my own life. Now I know Romans says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So I know that. I know that God's on the move. I know that he's moving in this earth, and I know that he's moving in my life, and I know that he's moving in your life, and he's moving in everybody else's life. I don't know what the outcome's going to look like. But that's not up for us, and that's the cool part. The more we get to know God, the more we get to go deep into him, we're not as worried about the outcome, right? We are focused on the fact that Jesus is Lord, and that Jesus is moving, and that he is working things out, that he is in control. And that's awesome. I don't know what God's going to do in your life, but I just want to encourage you. He is moving. He is active. And even though right now in your life it might look like he's restraining himself, he's working, and he's active, and he's moving in a way that you can't even imagine. So again, I'd encourage you, go read Isaiah. Right? Isaiah chapter 42, 1 through 16, the whole chapter, 10 through 16, whatever. Read some of it at least. And see that God says he's going to move, and he's going to restore, and he's going to make things new, and he's going to do things that just blows people away. And understand that that's the God you follow. That's the God you serve. That's the God who's in control of everything. He's moving and he's active today. So, that's just a thought.